is Nico Montoya.
Look at you, Kim, rolling your R's already this morning. I like it. We're getting dialed in ourselves here.
So Christian Alshon brings a good amount of height and stretch to him. Nico Montoya just a bit more undersized as opposed to his opponent. All smiles there, though. Facing righty versus lefty. Montoya will get us started. First round action for both of these pros.
Side out.
Yeah, Montoya just rose up a little bit too much there on that forehand drive. Important to keep those drives low to stay down with your body a bit more.
And you can already see the amount of power, placement, speed, spin that comes off the paddle of Christian Alshon.
Yeah, and he does it so effortlessly on the move, and I think that's really what separates himself from a lot of the other good players.
Men's singles draw continues to grow at every single tournament.
2-0.
The number of tennis players and pro tennis players coming over, starting to take advantage of some singles competition.
Yeah, but you know, unlike previous years, they're not able to jump right in. They really do have to earn their spot with the qualifiers now.
Side out.
What's crazy, though, is you saw a 32 seed push the number 1 seed.
It shows the level of depth, and you know, there's going to be more and more very new, talented players that are going to be making names for themselves.
0-2. Side out.
Montoya has an interesting service motion. He stands way behind the line and kind of crow hops into it, really trying to get as much power he can from that lower body.
Point. 3-0. Side out.
Here's another look at the serve.
0-3.
So what might be an advantage to doing that?
Yeah, I think you can kind of push through it. You're almost building up momentum. I actually used to serve in a similar way for a short period of time. I found that my serve was less consistent because I was slightly moving, and so I'm a little bit more planted and stationary now. But certainly nothing wrong with it. It's certainly a motion to be aggressive, which you need to be aggressive with your serve in singles.
0-3.
Alshon on the move, like you mentioned, just missing that slicing backhand. Hopping the corner is Alshon.
Yeah, we talked about he really separates himself among a lot of the other players with his athleticism, putting it on display there with Ernie.
Point. 4-0. Side out.
Not finding as much height as he needs.
It was a good return into the corner there by Montoya. See if he can get on the board here early.
Side out.
It's important in these first round matchups to be able to build that momentum. Some of the athletes who have done that in first round, Julian Arnold picking up a first round win, as well as Travis Rettenmeyer. He faced off against Gabriel Tardio in his first round. Jay DeVilliers also picking a first round win.
0-4.
Rafa Hewitt against Kyle Lewis.
Point.
As well as Connor Garnett.
1-4.
trying to close out, but Alshon is still patrolling the kitchen line.
Yeah, and it was a great point by Montoya. He strung together several good passes, gave himself the ability to move forward, but ultimately the reflexes of Alshon just being too good there.
Side out.
So when you're playing singles, you always want to look for patterns in your own game. Alshon's missed several balls in the net. He's a big guy. Might just need to bend his knees a little bit more to kind of change that pattern up.
Everyone always talks about height in terms of tennis, and especially in pickleball too, the same thing. Well, maybe they can reach so far into the kitchen, and how can that become an advantage? But there's also something to be said about that 6-foot range when you're looking at pro tennis and pro pickleball players.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think even, you know, drawing a tennis comparison, I think, you know, with Wimbledon, with the ability for the grass and the ball to stay so low, some of the tall players really struggle with the slice. Pickleball is much more like that, where height can be an advantage in some ways, but the low bounce can be very problematic in certain matchups.
Point. 5-2. Side out.
And there's a different look for a serve. You can see the amount of pace that Alshon will try and put on his feet, actually go from close stance to open stance on his finish.
Yeah, drives his hips through the motion there.
Point.
What's interesting too, I talked to Catherine Parento as she was trying to increase pace on her serve, and she actually went with more of an open stance to start. She felt like she could get more hip turn starting open stance. Different technique.
Yeah, probably wasn't there to go through Alshon on that one just with the low bounce. But yeah, to your point about service motions, Tyson McGuffin did something similar as well, not for the purpose of getting a more powerful serve, but to get more shape and hit a heavier serve. He switched his motion to be a little bit more square with his hips to start as well.
3-5.
Montoya down by 2. You saw 2 different footwork patterns there for Montoya as he went up the line.
Yeah, I didn't think anything was wrong with that, but you saw how he was able with 2 subsequent passes to force Alshon to hit up, but he never really gained any real estate. At some point, when you get your opponent stretching, driving and closing in immediately might be the ticket to put more pressure on your opponents.
6-3.
How much pressure is increased in terms of driving and closing, having a smaller frame is placed on you? Because to me, I'm thinking that's fearful. Now I'm actually allowing more space for the pass on both sides.
I think when you close in, you're actually shrinking the size of the available target for the volley. And it's a high risk, high reward play because you're either probably going to win or lose the point very quickly. But by staying back and continuing to hit ground strokes, it's just the odds are with your opponent much more.
Great explanation by our resident pro, Kyle McKenzie. Pro player and pro coach, in case anyone was wondering. I'm just a pro talker over here.
I'm a hybrid these days, Kim.
Ball long, so Alshon with the 8th point. Brandon French and James Ignatowicz have also picked up a first-round victory here at the Carvana PPA Tour, the Arizona Grand Slam. Right now, though, it's all eyes on Christian Alshon versus Nico Montoya. Tweener king, but questioning whether that ball's in or out.
Yeah, really, really close. He obviously doesn't want to call it out if he didn't see it that way, but appealing to the referee to see if maybe they had a better view. Tweener count at 1.
It needs to be a 3rd mark on the scoreboard for him. Lee Waters also sitting on the box for Christian Alshon. There's been a lot of conversation about Lee Waters and the expertise she brings being in the box of some of these athletes this year as she's dealing with an ACL injury.
Yeah, certainly with the level of experience that she has, somebody that you want in your corner if you can, absolutely.
Yeah, talked about her positive energy and the amount of kind of information that she'll give.
Point.
Yeah, and I know she's never really wanted to call herself her daughter's coach, you know, because they were teammates and partners, but you've got to think that she brings a level of tactical understanding that'd be very, very helpful.
There's one for Nico Montoya. Faces multiple game points now. Looking to add a fourth.
10.
I was going to say that was the perfect opportunity for the tweener.
And a topspin lob from Montoya that he puts on a dime. You don't see a ton of that in singles. Well done.
Side out.
Yeah, that's one where, to me, Montoya doesn't need to play that ball as close to the line. Just by hitting approach and getting in, you put pressure on your opponent to come up with the goods on that pass.
Trying to grab that before it hits the court gives Christian Alshon the 11th point and game number 1. Having some fun out here at Bell Bank Park in Mesa, Arizona. Cameron Irwin alongside Kyle McKenzie. Christian Alshon with the serve.
Side out.
So what did you see in game number 1 that went the direction of Christian Alshon?
Yeah, I think Montoya needs to do a better job of finding the Alshon backhand, really getting a good enough return where he can dictate with that first volley. Seemed like most of the time when he was volleying, he was on the stretch and just not able to really maintain that control as the returner.
Side out. 0-0.
You know, I'd say in addition to that, Cameron, you know, Montoya, we kind of mentioned he's staying back and hitting ground stroke after ground stroke. Even though it's more of a kamikaze play, I'd love for him to pick his target and then look to move forward and pressure the volley a little better.
I think that's what you were looking for right there.
Yeah, great job of a better return to enhance that first volley. And if you can hit a good first volley, even against the best in the world, you're going to win a good chunk of those points.
0-1.
You can see now the amount of preparation from Nico Montoya on each of those strokes. His feet working awfully quick.
Yeah, but again, he was well behind the baseline. I'd rather see him try to take some of these balls more on the rise to take some time away from Alshon, just with the timing of when you hit the ball.
So explain that to maybe those still learning in the game of pickleball, taking the ball on the rise.
Well, yeah, there's a couple different ways to take time away. One is to hit the ball harder, but the other is to hit the ball shortly after it bounces, as opposed to bounce, wait for the apex or the height of the bounce. It's a little easier to hit it then, but you're giving your opponent more time to take away some of those passing shot angles.
Great explanation as a point is on the board for Nico Montoya. Montoya was trying to take some body shots there, Christian Alshon.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad play every now and then to try to go through your opponent when you're that close to them, but the reflexes have been there from Alshon so far.
From Nico Montoya. Talk about a full stretch.
Yeah, he really had to earn that one. He was scrambling the whole point, but that's why you don't give up. You play every ball and good things happen.
There's some extra pace and placement from Nico Montoya, earning the missed return.
2-2. Side out.
Even though he missed that serve, I like the idea. He's starting to serve a little higher, give a little more shape. That can throw off the weight transfer of Alshon, which can then give you an easier pass on the next ball.
Nico Montoya again starting to assert himself at the kitchen line. And I love that you mentioned the height of the serve, because sometimes as those balls come up and further to the baseline, it's creating some major problems trying to get to the kitchen.
Yeah, it can change the strike zone of when you hit it in the weight transfer and makes you do something different.
Clean put away from Alshon. Alshon not giving him the stare down, literally trying to stare down the ball as it has been lost into the stands.
Yeah, players always prefer using the same ball if they can. They always just play just a little bit different when you have to go with a new one. Looks like they were able to retrieve it.
Side out.
Slow walk for Christian Alshon.
2-2.
Back to the baseline.
Point.
Yeah, and the few times that I've watched Alshon, I really think that's his best pattern, is running around when players are trying to find his backhand. If he can, run around to the forehand, not hit a powerful pass, but play that inside-out drop and use his anticipation and his athleticism to move forward throughout the point.
Makes me think of Ben Johns in that regard. Playing that inside out, working around, and then trying to crash in.
Yep, it's certainly one that is very much in Mr. John's repertoire as well.
I mean, what isn't, right?
Exactly.
Point. 5-2. Point. Timeout is called by the receiver.
Yeah, Parento able to take a game off of her in the finals there, so it was an entertaining final for sure.
You also have Leah Jansen back in the draw, as well as Davidze and Irina Tereshchenko. Nice hold there from Montoya.
Yeah, it was a really nice assertive point. He did a better job, in my opinion, with his weight transfer on the return, of really pushing through with his lower body as he's hitting it, and got him to the kitchen line in time.
You've talked about previously hitting on the move and more so that your feet are still stopped, but there is a weight transfer that's taking place on those returns.
I call it the bounding return, because you don't want your feet to be pitter-pattering through contact, because obviously that's a no-no. But if you hit, wait, and then run at this level, you're often just going to be too late to get forward with any real significance.
A few missed returns there for Christian Alshon, so just 2 points separation now. Catches it moving the opposite direction.
Yeah, it was almost a delayed path to the net by Alshon there. It almost looked like he was going to stay back. Then he comes in and puts it away.
He had room.
And I think that lack of confidence in that weight transfer is why Montoya chose to return and stay back there. You don't see that being super effective in the men's game just yet.
Behind the back for Alshon. Oh man, it's a highlight reel and he didn't even win the point.
Well, we talked about needing a tally for the tweeners. We might have to have a separate category for the behind the back or all the other highlight reel shots that he can come up with.
It's like a Rihanna dance move right there.
Point.
Watching too much Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was going to say, fresh on the mind.
Timeout is called by the receiver at 5-7.
At the professional ranks, Nico Montoya, 5-7. Looking for the cross-court winner.
Yeah, Montoya is really making Alshon work with those volleys, but he's just able to seem so far to cover all those passes, and it's challenging for Montoya to work forward.
7-5.
just having to put that ball back in play as Montoya for 2 straight, and Alshon takes advantage.
Yeah, Alshon had him on the stretch, it seemed like, for every one of those volleys, and eventually he found some space.
8-5.
Some noise on the side of Montoya as he chops that ball down.
Yeah, great volley, and love to hear the energy. He's here ready to fight. He still has a chance here to extend this match. Needs to make a move now.
Side out.
Just not enough height. As much spin is coming from Alshon there.
Yeah, to me, Montoya just tried to hit that ball too hard. It was lower than the net. All he needed to do was just roll that and maintain his positioning. Got a little anxious to try to put that ball away.
Point. Nine, 5.
So tough for Christian Alshon as he's fully stretched forward, not giving you as much leverage as you're hoping for. So Christian Alshon immediately takes a timeout here.
Side out.
Yeah, you see Alshon kind of running around to play a forehand on the return. It looks like he's got too much court to cover, but he's able to still get to that forehand volley time and time again. So if I'm Montoya, I might think about going back behind him because he seems to be leaning that way pretty regularly. And that's the argument for driving and closing in, because even if your opponent makes the volley, they have to worry about you being right on top of them for the very next one.
Game point for Christian Alshon.
10-5. Point. Game.
Some help from the net
Match.
gets the game for Christian Alshon. So match has completed. The number 9 seed moving on.